Hello everyone, this is your host Vaibhav. I welcome all of you to today's session of Daily Talk, in which we are going to take a deeper look on the earnings report for the Visa Inc., which is the card provider, financial services provider for many people across the world. Whether you are in the West or in the East, you probably would have used its cards issued in collaboration with your local bank. It has been gaining ground in the recent quarters. Its revenues have risen, its earnings have risen, and so as its market cap. But on this peak, it seems to be stagnating a bit. The growth of the revenues is not as strong as it used to be, and that is pretty much expected because it has a pretty high base now. Its revenues, its net profit is on the higher side where it will need much more effort for the growth to happen because once you reach the saturation levels, the growth is likely to level off, and that is what we are seeing, what we are witnessing in the case of Visa Inc. So I am expecting it to remain in the consolidation phase over next few months, maybe even couple of quarters before it starts to maybe rise again. But that is for another session. In today's session, the focus mainly remains on the possibility of it consolidating over next few weeks, next few months, and in that case, we will see if there are opportunities for us as investors, as traders, to profit from these possibility. So for that, we have to see the fundamentals as well as technicals, and what better than its quarterly report to make the assessment of the financial side of these financial company. This is the consolidated statement of cash flow, which we will consider afterwards. Firstly, we go to the statement of operation. So here it is, the Visa's consolidated statement of operations. All right. Now, if you look at the top line, the first starting line, what you will notice is that we have these net revenue figures for the quarter ended March 31st, 2024, and in it you can see almost 10 percentage point growth in the net revenues, which have risen to now US dollar 8.77 billion from US dollar 7.98 billion a year back. So there is a fabulous number, fabulous growth. But then there has also been growth, there has been increase in the operating expense. So even on top of this 10% growth in the revenue, we are not really witnessing the 10% growth in the net profit because there has been this rise in the operating expenses, which is much on the higher side. Now, if we consider this operating income, it is just little above the number a year back. So we have this time around the operating income of $5.35 billion, which is a little bit higher in comparison to 5.33 billion a year back. And then comes these other expenses, which are not really contributing to the net profit much. There is a slight bit of deviation on this number. So after factoring in these non-operating income and expenses as well as the provision for the tax, which is slightly less this time around, we have the net income figure of 4.66 billion, which is around 8 to 9 percentage point growth from the prior income figures. So even though there was increase in the operating expense because of the less growth in the non-operating expenses and the lesser provision for the taxes. The company was able to register decent growth in the net income figure. So what I am pointing to from this report is that the revenues did rise, but so did the expense. And at the end of the day, the company wasn't really able to make good of these strong growth in the revenue, and that resulted in the not so impressive growth in the net income, and also its forward guidance is pointing to the lower single digit growth in the next few quarters as this base of the net income remains high. Any company making the net income of $4.6 billion is of course going to be counted among the one of the biggest companies across the world, and at these numbers on these numbers, any growth is likely to be quite hard to come by. So the Visa Inc. will have to take substantial efforts, many new initiatives to register further growth on these high base numbers. Now we have to also consider how it is spending all the cash it is generating from the operations, from the operating activity. For the last quarter, there was this cash flow from the from the operating activity at US $9.55 billion, and that resulted in this cash provided by the operating activity at $8.15 billion, which is slightly high in comparison to the cash provided by the operating activities a year back. From the investment activity, we have this cash outflow mainly, and there is cash outflow of $3 billion in comparison to just its 35 million a year back. There has been quite a lot of increase in the cash outflow on account of investment activity. And then we have this cash outflow from the financing activity as well. And here you can see that there was a lot of money spent on the repurchase of the common stock. So a lot of money was paid back to the shareholders in terms of the buyback share repurchase program, and that has resulted in this cash outflow of $6.33 billion on account of the repurchase. And after the repurchase, there is also cash spending on account of dividend paid. The investors have been rewarded handsomely with this increase in the cash outflow on account of that, and that has dented the cash reserve at the company's balance sheet. And so we have cash and cash equivalents at the end of the period down to $18.95 billion in comparison to the cash cash pile of almost 22 billion 6 months back. But still, the company's fundamentals and the financial position remains strong. It is well positioned for taking initiative to make the investment and spending as and when needed for capitalizing any opportunities which might present itself in a course of time. So there is not much of a concern on that front, as, as it has ample liquidity to take advantage of any opportunity, the business opportunities. Now we turn our gaze to the technical side of the story. This is the short-term charting where we have defined the candle period of the Visa Inc. stock at hourly, and in this chart is the chart for last 2 3 weeks, and in it you can see that after reaching the peak close to 280, the stock price has been simply consolidating with this slightly bearish bias, as it has formed a lower low after making the high fairly close to the prior swing high. So we have now the situation of a higher high but lower low. So this is a mixed bag consolidation phase with slight bias on the bearish side. And I feel over next couple of sessions, the momentum is likely to remain bearish, and we will do well to try to take advantage of this situation by adopting a sell on rally approach. So if you are looking for any opportunity to profit over next few sessions, it is going to be better for you to keep looking for the opportunity to short sell rather than trying to make a long trade or investment at the current juncture. If your view is simply for next couple of sessions purely from the short term perspective, I am talking about using this candle period of hourly on the chart of the Visa Inc. Now, as we expand our time horizon, we will also have a different picture of what are the possibilities. In the medium term, if you change the time period of each candle to daily, we have these peak of 290, and then this consolidation started with the Visa Inc. making a fresh swing low at 266, which is considerably lower in comparison to these prior swing lows. And now it seems to be consolidating here in this price band of 265 to 285, and I'm not really expecting this picture to change anytime soon unless there is any unforeseen development which might cause substantial deviation in its price. So unless that happens, I feel that the Visa Inc. stock is quite likely to remain in this consolidation phase and not really expand or decline much from the current levels. So playing the range, understanding the range is going to be the critical part of the Visa Inc. stock trading and investment strategy. So I would say that if your time horizon is of next few weeks, then you will do well to keep these immediate swing highs and swing lows in mind and keep looking for a sale on rally opportunity. So pay attention to the next swing low, and whenever it is returning back closer to the prior swing high, see if it is contained closer to the immediate swing high or no. And if it is contained and starts to show signs of stabilizing, then I think we will be in a good position to profit from the possibility of it starting to decline again, and then going for a short sale trade. From the longer term perspective, if we use weekly as our candle period time frame, I feel we have to consider this immediate peak of around 290, which came after this extended rally, which started close to 200 way back in the first half of 2023. From there on, there has been steady rise, steady increase in the valuations of the Visa Inc., which has gained around 50 percentage point growth in the span of 1 year. Now, on these higher levels, it seems to be finding some resistance, and all we can say is it is simply entering into a consolidation phase with slight bias on the bearish side. I'm not really saying that it is going to turn all the all bearish and go back to the prior few low levels. Maybe it is not likely to do that, but immediate phase is likely to be a consolidation where the possibility of it being bearishly inclined can't be ruled out. So, keeping that possibility in mind, I don't really feel that we should be looking to buy it at the current juncture. Maybe from the long term perspective, the best thing you can do is to sit on the sidelines, and there are opportunities, but those are likely to arise on the short term and the medium term horizon, not in the long term. In the long term, we will have to give it much more time before some clarity emerges for the possibilities in the visa in stock. So my advice is simple: keep looking for the opportunities to short sell, but in the short term and in the medium term. In the long run, maybe it is better to sit on the sidelines, wait for better opportunities to emerge once there is enough of clarity on these price movement on the visa in over the long term. So that's my take looking at the quarterly report and the share price trajectory over last few days, last few weeks, last few months, and in keeping with my initial assessment, I'm advising you to keep looking for opportunities to short while adopting a sell and rally approach. Maybe the odds are going to be in your favor. Now it's time for me to say goodbye for the day. I will be back tomorrow with a equally interesting company to work with. So do join back. Thank you all for joining in. See you next time.